Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. My name's Ian Bagg, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Make sure you tell your friends all about this podcast. We're still not up on iTunes, but hopefully soon. We're still on Ian Bagg Comedy Channel, on YouTube, Ian Bagg Comedy, on Facebook. Share, like, rate, review, and send a question. We have a viewer question today, and we're thrilled about it. So send a question to Ian at ianbagg.com. Hope you enjoy yourself. Have a good day. And what a week. Sports all over the place. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Bagg. Very good. Very good. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. Just got back from Philadelphia, having a great time. I was trying not to breathe for over 3 days, so that was great. So, speaking of that, do you think, how everything's changed, do you think that the Canadian division was a mistake with it just seems like having to play each other that much. Some teams are growing and some teams are just destroying themselves. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a nice question to start off with.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the Canadian division, obviously, with the COVID, and we'll get to that in a minute, we're kind of forced their hand. I watched Calgary and Edmonton Battle of Alberta on Saturday night, the first of 10 meetings. And, one of the issues that you're going to have up there, and it's going to happen in the other divisions too, is, some of the games are going to be up on two wheels and out of control, and some of them are going to be probably pretty boring. And you just kind of, how much of a good thing is too much? And
that's what I feel going on with the Canadian division right now. It's too much chocolate, and some of the other divisions it's just all fiber. It's just like it's pretty. It seems like they didn't really. I don't know. They didn't look at it quite right, and maybe take and do what they did with San Jose and put them in Arizona for the season. I know that's
right.
It just to me I just don't know if it works. It was great at the beginning, but now I'm like, I don't know.
Well, it is. I mean, one of the issues that you have versus, say, what you might have in the States, like the Super Bowl took up all the air in the last couple of weeks around here with Brady and Mahomes down in the States. Mm-hmm. You look at a market like LA, the Dodgers made a big free agent signing with the pitcher. The Rams made a huge trade for Matthew Stafford. Okay, so you have other things that kind of take the attention away. In Canada, in that Canadian division, how'd you like to be Vancouver right now or Ottawa? Vancouver's been in Toronto. They're finishing up a 3-game set as we tape this on a Monday. They've had to read all weekend, and they're off to a bad start. And there's just no getting away. There's no, hey, we're going on a road trip to SoCal or LA, or sorry, Vegas or down to Florida or Nashville, where you can kind of get away. There's no getting away up in the Canadian division. So even if you're going good,
when they get away, it's still right in their face, right? You're getting away to Edmonton, and you're still getting off the plane, and the baggage guy is just like, hey, all over you, right? Yeah, I think it's a little too much. I just think it's a little too much for the Canadian teams, and especially somebody that is an American hockey player that comes to Canada to play and is not used to that attention. It's got to be overwhelming.
Well, and it might, there's some really good things about it. Obviously, the situation dictates that they're doing the best they can. But I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm like, Vancouver's been in Toronto. I think it's going to end up being 5 days. And if you're a Vancouver Canuck fan, the only thing I can say, looking at what they've done so far, is the majority of their games have been on the road. So maybe they can get home and fix this. But
as soon as
they're just getting. What's that?
As soon as they get back to their fans, that's when it's all going to change.
Yeah. So who knows where it's going to go? But with the postponements of games in the other divisions, you could end up. I mean, there's a possibility. Maybe they bubble this thing up again in 4 cities to get it to the finish line, because you have all kinds of postponements down in these divisions in the States this week and last week. And what's the answer to that? Is it, putting everybody in Denver or putting everyone in Vegas or Nashville or, Chicago and then, putting everybody in one city? We know Toronto and Edmonton can handle it up in the north. So, yeah,
Right.
it's going to be, this is touch and go. I mean, they only have so much time before, the race is on to get done before the Olympics.
Right. I honestly, I see it as a great thing, but a bad thing. I think they should be there. Apparently, this is how everybody I know is getting vaccinated for COVID. There's extra vaccine, and they have to use it. As soon as they start it, they have to use it. So the NHL teams and officials and the coaches and the trainers should be prepared to run immediately to use that extra vaccine and to make it some sort of press stop, so it shows that people should be getting the vaccine. I think they should be working with the health people, because I do think they're going to end up back in a bubble, because it's out of control, the COVID in the league right now. It's just it's just PPD on games too much. Like half the games yesterday were postponed, and now you're getting to a point where once it's three quarters and it's just the Canadian teams playing, now we're really in trouble. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know if the Canadian league is wrong, but it's so good, but so bad. It's just too much sugar. It's just too much sugar. I don't know.
I can tell you're getting fired up. You're raising your fists again.
Goddamn cameras in the way. Anyway, I'm turning to my dad. I don't know if a bubble works either, because some teams burnt out and some players left on the bubble. So there's got to be there's got to be entrances and exits for them in the bubble. They can't seal them like they did last year.
Well, the thing, it's really a slippery slope, because the guys want to get paid. The NHL wants to get the games in. It's time. There's a time constraint here. They have, let's just give them 2 extra weeks to get this all in, or at least, that's kind of what they want to do. It gets to a point where you've run out of that, you're right up against buffering up against the end of that 2 weeks. And you might have to do something drastic. I mean, the amount of money that these teams are spending a month on COVID tests and, trying to socially distance and the rest of it, and they're still running into issues, is problematic, because these guys are taking it very seriously, and it's still finding its way into these teams. So it's a rough one, and we'll just have to wait and see. But I wouldn't rule out.
I'm sure they're taking it very seriously, but even myself, for some of my friends that I think take it very seriously, they do things and you're just like, what? So I'm sure with the amount of people working in that situation, it just takes a little bit of a mistake, and it's pretty simply it just suddenly grass fire in the middle of the. It seems like, and we talked about this before, but it seems like money is starting to become a little bit of an issue, right? And I don't know where the corners are being cut, and I'm not saying on the medical, but do you feel like somebody would have already been fired? And I knew we weren't going to talk about this, but now you feel like a coach would have been fired already this year had it been regular season and they had the numbers.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, we're in such a different time. I think you would have seen a lot more movement of players, but like you said, there's no money, and so some of the teams that aren't doing as well as they should be doing, or at least projected to do, normally what do? You can't fire all the players, you can't trade all the players, so you fire the general manager, the coach, or you make some kind of change behind the bench or something.
Right.
And now, if you look at it, some of these teams like Vancouver, they're 15 games into a 56-game schedule. I love we've talked about Vancouver probably way too much, but Vancouver, we'll just use them. They've allowed 60 goals in 15 games. That's just, there's no way they're going to be able to win playing like that. but is that all on the coach? Is it on the players? Where is it? So I think a team that is a little bit more patient, maybe move a player or two out, see if they can change some of the dynamic in the locker room, and maybe something like that. But I don't foresee a lot of changes right now. If you're close and you're not happy in a month or so, plus we don't even know, maybe you can make changes then. We don't even know if they're going to be able to get this done. We keep having postponements. It's going to get really, really touch and go.
It's I want to move on from it because it is getting. It seems like it's the window's closing on whether the whole season's going to happen or not. And I it might be like last year where it comes in 2 parts or 3 parts. They might have to close down a couple times. And you talked about the Olympics. Maybe they close down and wait for the Olympics to be over and then pick it back up again. They might, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Who knows when they're going to start in October again? Like how many years it's going to take for them to be able to start when they should be starting. So I don't.
Yeah, the hope would be they could do it this year, but you're right. If they run out of time and run out of real estate and everyone's got 10 or 12 games left, they pick it up in August and then try and finish in September and crank it up in November or December. I don't know. There's a lot, there's a lot on the table with this. And I think the bubble would be extremely expensive, but I think the bubble probably gives them their best chance to finish this thing off when they want.
Do you? I know this is way out there, but do you think the union has to bend? Do you think they have to bend more on some of these things? Has the union been working with them enough, or do they need to bend more? And you're part of the NHL Players Union, aren't you?
Yeah. It's changed. Well, the union's changed a lot. A card-carrying member, right? But if you talk to people around the game, they say it's a lot more geared towards the players these days and what they want. And I'm 100% with that. Back when I was in pro hockey, it was kind of a one-way street. And maybe, as players, we needed to be a little bit more on top of what's going on. Well, things have shifted in the world, and players they seem to be a lot more on top of what's going on and in control, or at least have some input. I think the union, wants to get it done just like the NHL, but at what cost? And that the big question is if they keep postponing and the NHL comes to union in a week or two and says, hey, we need to bubble this up in 4 different cities in, 1 in Canada and 3 in the United States to get it finished. Are you guys willing to do that with half your season to go? And, I don't know. That's a real, that's a unfortunate topic to bring up, but it's one that might have to be discussed here soon.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something a little more happy-go-lucky. Tom Brady, 67 years old last night, wins his 7th Super Bowl. He obviously makes it look great for anybody that plays sports. That the window seems to be opened up a little bit more, right? Which I think the last person to really open that window was Gordie Howe, right? Gordie Howe really showed people you can play later in life. Maybe Yager, but I think
Chelios is another guy that played late in his career. But yeah, crazy. Go ahead.
I think Brady is the one. Because he's a superstar. It makes it even better. But does he make football grow as a sport? Like Wayne Gretzky, who because somebody said to me, and I don't know who it was, some douche said. Brady may be the best athlete of all times, but yeah, for playing for longevity, he is. But Gretzky changed a sport completely, grew a sport, and like nobody ever has. I would say. Am I right or wrong?
I think Gretzky absolutely is responsible for what you see. You see Vegas in the NHL is, the growth of the Kings in LA. They not far that long ago. They won 2 cups here recently. Anaheim into just south of LA, and Phoenix is always kind of a lightning rod to talk about, but he's responsible for a lot.
Gretzky, right?
Yeah, and you look at the growth in the South. You got Florida, Nashville, into Dallas. They moved down there from Minnesota years ago, but he helped strengthen. He helped grow the game. Another guy I can think of that's similar, just grew revenues and worldwide, brought attention was Michael Jordan.
Right.
So those two guys are generational in and there's next level, and then the level those guys are on, and Tom Brady's on that level. He's kind of always been the Patriot way. You hear about that, the Patriot way, and but they won, and now he's in Tampa Bay and he's winning there. So we'll have to see. I think as the victory tour kind of winds down, and who knows how long Brady's going to play for, but I think you're going to see. He did a funny commercial with Gronkowski, last couple of days down here in the States for T-Mobile.
He's funny.
Yeah, he's going to grow who he is, and obviously Tiger Woods changed golf as well, but yeah.
I know there's a handful of them that have really expanded sports, but I don't know if Brady's one that'll expand the sports, even though he's it's amazing what he did. And Gronkowski makes me laugh because he's just kind of like got that goofy kid in a massive body. Like when I was watching the game yesterday, people that were covering him looked like tiny children next to him, and they're huge men. It was so weird to watch them just kind of rumbles along. It's great. I don't know. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I know this is a hockey podcast, but you got to enjoy any sport. And there was a couple commercials involving. I seen hockey, and a couple of them. Seth Jones was in a commercial, which I thought was great that they put a Columbus Blue Jacket in a national commercial. That was awesome. So, yeah.
Gronk is like he's like a cartoon character. He's likable on the field. He's likable off. And who doesn't like cartoons, right? He's got a little bit of everything. He came back. He's changed his game. He used to be the go-to guy. He mucked it out in the trenches for most of this year in the playoffs. And then when they need him last night in the Super Bowl, he's there. So, and then it's good. It sets you. Yeah.
Brady seems to be doing it naturally too. He's got that swimmer's body on him still. He isn't on HGH where his head turns into his shoulders and just a massive forehead. So that's good. I like it. It was fun to watch, and Gretzky's still the best. The best of all times. I don't care what anybody.
Gretz is awesome and always got time for people, and that's something maybe Tom Brady is. He kind of rolls out here and plays another few years, however long he plays. Kind of adds a little bit of that, the Peyton Manning, like you think of Peyton Manning and he's always there and likable guy. And Brady, he's etched in history as 7 Super Bowls. But those other guys are Gretz is arguably whatever side of the fence you want to be on is greatest of all time in hockey. Mm-hmm. Gretz has always got time for everybody. He's an unbelievable ambassador.
That's a Canadian thing. That's a Canadian thing. My friend Luciano Cosmari is reading a book from Mike Myers that tells you the difference between Canadians and Americans. Like what Americans don't understand about Canadians. And there's a part in it where they talk about the Canadian rule, and it started with John Candy. They would give him an extra half an hour to get the set on his call time because he would stop and talk to everybody on the way to set and have a conversation with them. So that's a very Canadian thing. He would actually.
I like how you got Luch into the show today too. Shout out to Luch.
Shout out to Luch.
Yeah. Good guy.
Good guy. My guy. So all right, let's move on. Who are your 2 top players and who are your 2 top teams this week?
Okay, I'm going to go with Patrick Kane. I know that won't surprise a lot of people, but I'm going to go with him because I've watched Chicago quite a bit after the start they had was awful. They're getting goaltending, and this guy is playing at a whole nother level in Chicago. They're missing Jonathan Toews. No one knows when he's coming back, and Kirby Dach, who is, I believe Kirby is 19 or 20 this year. He is an unbelievable young centerman for them. So they're missing two of their one up and coming star and one of their stars. So I got to go with Patrick Kane. He's been unbelievable. And then the other guy I'm going to go a little off the board here. If you've been watching North Division, you might agree with this, though, and that's Jeff Petrie, defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points. Guy is can I say unbelievable again? I will. He's been great, and those are my two guys that I really stood out to me this last week and the season so far.
Montreal's just a completely different team. Just got a different sensibility about them right now. Right? They were known. Last year and the year before, people were just they're too small, and now they've definitely got some size and it's fast and it's just their jerseys. It's the jerseys that turns me off about Montreal.
Oh, I love their jerseys. They got the best jerseys going.
Yeah, but imagine if they were Canucks. Oh, it'd be fantastic. So do you want to do your two top teams as well? You've given us your two players. You want to do your two top teams as well?
Well, you know what? Last week, there were some teams that were in the running, and you maybe will touch on a couple of them, but I have to go with Toronto just because it's like, it's like they're in the microwave under they're in the fishbowl all the time up there. So they're getting heat and they're getting, everyone's judging them. They've been great. And their superstars are being superstars. So definitely a tip of the hat to Toronto. I know that hurts your feelings, Ian, but I'll do that. And then the other team, just kind of, the other team I got to go with is Boston. And they went through and played all the big heavy hitters in their division last weekend. They played Washington and they played Philly. They got a really young defense, and they just, again, their superstars are playing out of their mind. They look like they've got a great system going. They're getting goaltending. So Toronto and Boston.
Toronto and Boston. Well, I'll give you my two top players for the week. Pastrnak, who is from Boston. I think he just came back and has just been on fire. I don't know if he didn't have a longer period of time really than usual, but for some reason he's just on fire. And also Brent Burns out in San
Burnsy.
Yeah. He's just playing great. So San Jose hasn't been as bad as I thought they were going to be this year. So that's they got a lot of money on their docket, so they should be good. But I thought they were going to be absolutely horrible. And my two top teams this week. Who are my two top teams? What did I lose them? Ottawa. I went with Ottawa because they actually won a game. And Chicago. Chicago is just playing over their head, like you said before. Not over their head. They're playing better than people expected them to play. So I think there's a difference when you're playing over your head and, it just shuts off. But they should be good, People were very worried about the goaltending there. And I think the goaltending's actually been pretty good there. So, good for them. Good for them. Just playing in Chicago, just having a good time. And now let's go to the other end of the board. Who's just been a disappointment? Who are some players and some teams that have just been a disappointment to you? Just getting home, not getting an ice cream on the way home from the rink.
I picked on them last week, and I'll get on them again this week. The Islanders are still scuffling by their standards, and watching them play, they're just not in sync yet. But that would be one of the teams I'd like to see more out of. And then I kind of went with Nashville. They were like 2-3 last week, or in their last 5. Just not great. I'd like to see more out of Nashville. I think they get some really, really top end players there, and so I'd like to see a little bit more out of them.
Oh, very nice. Nashville's just been very quiet. I just feel like they haven't really, it's just. Oh, they don't really know the league started up yet, kind of thing in Nashville. And for players, anybody who should be getting out there and doing a little bit more?
You know what? I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more out of Eric EK65 in San Jose. When he was in Ottawa, he was able to command the play, and he's still logging huge minutes of ice time, but he's just not at the level that you'd like to see him at. And so he's been in San Jose. This is we're going on 2-3 years now, so he's had enough time to settle in there. For San Jose, and they do have a lot of talent up front, for San Jose to get back and get going, obviously they need Dubnyk, or, to stop the puck for him. They brought him in to do that, but they need to get more out of EK65. So I'd like to see more there, Carlson. And if you want to give me another player, I'll just go with the Canucks team, just not where they need to be. So
that's
I don't know.
I'm right there. I'll interrupt right now. I'm not even going to go with the second team. I'm just so disappointed in the Canucks, and everybody says, "Oh, you're a Canucks fan." Everybody, I love the whole league. I think I enjoy the Canucks, and they're just a disappointment. It just feels like they don't even want. They're a kid that gets picked on going to school, and they don't want to go to school because they just get picked on the whole time. They're just like, I don't want to go to school, and they're just hiding. It's very interesting times for the Vancouver Canucks. Which led to my first question: If did they get screwed by it being a Canadian division? Did Gary Bettman fuck the Vancouver Canucks over?
There you go with your hands up again. I know you're getting fired up.
I get all fired up.
Here's what I'll say about Vancouver, and I apologize, Mr. Bagg. I took I threw their whole team under the bus there, and I like the Canucks too.
I gave you players, and you took 25.
I know. I couldn't. I took your team from you, but here's the issue with Vancouver. If you want to look at why the Canadian division might just be a one-off, and one of the reasons is they're in the Pacific time zone. They're out in Toronto right now, and you can say, oh, yeah, they've been out there in Montreal. They've been out there for a week or 10 days or whatever it's been. But the Canucks have historically had the worst travel, okay? So they're going to play in the Pacific normally. They're going to play against Calgary and Edmonton, time zone 1 hour, not a big deal. Flight, a little over an hour. Right. Then next year, Seattle comes in, and then they come down the coast, and every team they're going to play is going to be in the Pacific time zone because Phoenix is going to move over to the Central Division. So one of the things that could be really affecting the Canucks more than the other teams and is the time change. That's got to have some effect. And of course, things just aren't going very good there. So everything just kind of piles on top of the next thing.
I'm going to interrupt you because only got a couple minutes left, and I want to get to this question that was emailed to us to Orange Slices. I've got Orange Slices question. You can send it to Ian at ianbag.com. If you have any questions, we will answer them. This week comes from Jesse Hurst. Jesse Hurst. Hey, Ian and Jeff, good job on the podcast so far. I love hearing a couple of BC boys shoot the shit about some puck. I have a question for you guys. What do you think of the officiating so far this season? I should have. There's just been a lot of hits from behinds in the numbers, and I'm wondering if it stems from having less policing. So, what do you think? What do you think of the officiating so far? And I'm gonna start with it and then let you take it over. I haven't noticed. So, over to you.
Yeah, we're running up against the clock here.
Yeah, so I don't even get
one-word answers. That's it. We're done. Okay, if you go back to last week, Vancouver, Toronto, which it seems like they've been playing each other all season, but there was a hit against the boards. I think it's Chatfield hit curve from the Canucks, hit curve foot from the Leafs from behind, right in the numbers, right in the boards, no call. So I can see where and that's a great question because what I'm seeing is a little bit of that, but Kevin Fiala ran, I think it was one of the Kings defensemen, Roy, into the boards and got 3 games for it. So there was some disciplinary for that. The only other thing I'd say is the players or the referees, like the players, I mean, they just got in the fast lane and they started driving too. So I've noticed stuff like too many men that could have been maybe called that they've let go or some of the other stuff. So I would expect the refereeing to get a little bit sharper, just like the play in the next couple of weeks here. But great question. And I haven't noticed a big thing, but there are a couple plays that seem to stand out. So good eye for picking that up. Thanks for the question, Jesse. And I want to put a shout out to your business. He's got Backwood Customs. He makes custom furniture. He's in Agassiz, BC. Here's his Instagram right here. I'm putting it right here, somewhere around here. We're gonna put it right over there. We're going to put it up. His Instagram, check it out. He's got some great furniture on there. And yes, we would like to be sponsored by Backwood Customs. We're got a couple Adirondack chairs for the boys. Yeah. And I thank him for that question. And I guess there has been some interesting calls, but I
and I said I wasn't going to say anything. I think people get fired up and forget that you're making the decision in real time. We have a different look. We have, so I try to give the referees the break. My buddy Trent will tell you that every referee is a douche, but I think you have to have to give them a break. Just a couple shout outs for this week. Let's give a couple shout outs. You want to give a shout out to the WHNL, their women's hockey, national hockey, WNHL. Oh, Jesus. Give my shout out. Shout out. Go. So give them a shout out, Trent.
Yeah, absolutely. It was too bad that they had to shut down because of COVID. But what I'd really like to see with the Women's League is the NHL, and it looks like there's some teams starting to get behind them, like the WNBA. The NBA is behind the WNBA. What I'd like to see is the NHL get behind the women's game and promote it. And I just think it's a lot of fun. They do a great job, and let's get behind them. So unfortunately, it couldn't finish, but no.
Yeah, get behind them, and if you can, make sure you follow them on social media. Give them your support, and you want to give the West Coast Hockey League is trying to start up. You're a alumni of them. You want to give them a shout out.
The West Coast Hockey League.
West Coast. What did I don't know.
The Western Hockey League.
Yeah, there's West Coast Hockey League. I've fallen apart. I'm up against the clock and I'm panicking. I make one mistake a week, and you guys are all over me. Bretta Palzer calls me on too.
This is the time zone issue. You were in Philly this weekend. Right. See, no wonder the Canucks are struggling.
I'm surprised I didn't call him Dave Gretzky.
I didn't even remember what we were talking about.
But, you want to give out?
The Western Hockey League. Yeah.
Shout out instead of the West Coast Hockey League.
Looks like they're going to crank it up in the American division here really soon, and hopefully they can figure something out for the Canadian kids that are in the Canadian teams. And good. Let's get people back, and let's get these kids going 100% behind them, and hope they do really well and they can get all the games in.
Nice. You also want to give a quick shout out to Ovechkin because he never gets any love. You also want to give him.
No. Ovi now 711 goals. Another generational player, and talk about a guy that's done unbelievable things for the NHL, but specifically the Washington Capitals. So
nice.
Good job, Ovi.
I wanted to give a shout out to Gritty, the mascot for the Philadelphia Flyers, just the best mascot in the league. Punched a kid in the face last year, and I just love that. So, we'll see you next week, Jeff.
All right. See you. Oh, hang on before I go. Got to get our own slices up there.
Get some vitamin C in you.
That's right. We'll see you. I'm going to go down. See you.
Bye. Thanks for listening, watching, whatever you did. Appreciate you. We'll be back next week. Make sure you send an email to ianbagg.com. Let us know who your favorite hockey team is and who your favorite hockey player of all times is. I know mine is a man named Ian Bagg. He was such a good hockey player that he became a comedian. Have a good day. Be well.